The growing global population is demanding more and healthier foods. To meet this demand, farmers are increasingly relying on external inputs. This has led to disastrous consequences to both the environment and human well-being. Many farmers use techniques that are centuries old to produce nutritious food in an environmentally friendly manner. These practices are part of what we now call agroecology, which combat the negative impacts of farming that is dependent on external inputs while addressing the needs of humans and the environment.
2014 we started a global dialogue, and then we took that in 2015, we took it forward into regional dialogues. We had one for Latin America and the Caribbean, we had one in Africa, we had one for Asia and the Pacific. So, and these dialogues were attended by wide range of stakeholders, farmers, farmer groups, we're talking about academia, researchers, private sector, you name it, and between 150 and 300 persons attended these consultations. So it was really wide-ranging consultations.
These 10 key elements of agroecology are diversity, co-creation and knowledge sharing, synergies, efficiency, recycling, resilience, human and social values, culture and food traditions, responsible governance, and circular and solidarity economy. In the Caribbean, many family farmers have been practicing a variety of these key elements to improve their production systems, the quality of products, and to sustain the environment. From the Blue Mountain in Jamaica to the Moruga Hills in Trinidad to the shadow of the Piton Peaks in St. Lucia, agroecological practices are being used to satisfy the high demand for safe, healthy, and diverse foods. Diversity in farming involves a range of vegetables, food crops, tree crops, and animals on the same farm in integrated systems, mixed cultures, polycultures, or multi-story.
I am the third generation of poultry farming. Generally, we in the Las Lomas area, we own around 6 acres of land. Before we used to rear about 30,000 broilers. But as the time went by, we started to spread our wings. We started to add some small ruminants, some rabbits, some ducks, and also swine onto the property.
The rice is totally organic. No fertilizer, no amount of chemical like to preparing land and spraying the weeds and all these kind of a thing. You do hand cleaning when you plant the rice, so that most of the produce really is natural.
So I have been living in Brazo Seco for 20 years, and so this was at the beginning of the Tourism Action Committee being formed. And my husband, who is a Trinidadian, is an organic agriculturalist. So we have definitely seen, based on him just doing his agriculture the way he knows how to do, other farmers being influenced, seeing he's not buying chemicals and he's still getting some lovely production. Increasing biodiversity is a key contributor to diverse diets, while conserving and protecting natural resources and wild biodiversity. Biodiversity also increases resilience of production that is threatened by climate change and environmental degradation. Farmers benefit from knowledge shared through generations, as well as direct linkages to researchers. Co-creating results in the generation of best practices that are a blend of both worlds. As farmers groups share this knowledge and farming practices change farmers, the environment and consumers all benefit. Some Caribbean farmers are using simple techniques to successfully achieve this.
So with the pepper we make a pesticide. So the pepper and the garlic blended together, strained again, is good for pests.
So you've tested those formulas and so on?
Yeah,
So is that shared among the Joe members in Jamaica?
yeah.
Okay.
We also have a WhatsApp group.
Okay.
So a lot of, people say, hey, look at this bug, I'm having a problem, what do you suggest? So there's a great communication there with that.
So I came up with the idea of having the local community, if different farmers would farm different pieces of it, we would train them how to do organic farming, and then they could pick up, and maybe that person would do tomatoes and that person would, and then we'll be able to round it out and be able to do a CSA. So we started to have a thing called the 1-1 Cocoa, and it's a training course. We did 2 weeks of permaculture and 2 weeks of organic farming. And Chuck came back and taught that, and we found another person to teach the organic farming course of it.
I learned from my grandparents and them many years ago, and I still plant rice in the same style. Manually, use your boa, you drop your seed and all this kind of a thing.
Well, what I could say about the hill rice is a kind of ancient tradition from with we fathers now. Yeah. And it handed down. Yeah, it handed down to us in the sense like even how to plant the rice now.
We do the workshops, all over. We're doing mushrooms. There's a mushroom guy coming in. We're gonna have actually in this back room a mushroom lab to grow the spawns. Just different people come to us with interests, and we see how many people. Like I was surprised about the mushroom. I thought nobody does mushrooms, and that was the highest turnout that we ever had. All the reports that come out of all the different agencies is saying sustainable development, organic things. All the climate change stuff is all organic and permaculture practices. So why are we not equipping our folks to be able to go in and do hugelculture and understand about the biologicals and bringing in the wasps and all these different things that they should be using, or even just the companion, all that stuff that they should know. They're not coming out with it, so they're not going to be competitive.
One of the strengths of sharing and co-creation of knowledge is to help farmers improve farm productivity while maintaining and safeguarding the environment. Understanding synergies helps farmers improve their production systems. Farmers observe interactions among the different elements in their farms and make adjustments to maximize productivity and efficiency. One place where this is evident is at the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College in St. Lucia.
We wanted a cheaper method of way of developing some fence for pasture, and one of the easier ways is to go and get normal wood within the forest, which is Dwarika and Lucida, and we normally enclose an area with the Dwarika stick and all the Lucida, and we use our chip fencing around it to where we could practice rotational grazing. However, those poles that we use for the fencing, we also use it as a legume, a protein material that we use often to allow the animals to graze. And for us, yes, we have to maintain on a regular basis, but for us it's a cheaper method of building a pasture system.
We intercrop fruit trees like coconuts, avocados, mangoes, soursop, and also our dashing leaves. In these pastures now where these trees are planted, we have small ruminants grazing in between them. The small ruminants benefit basically because of the shade. The plants benefit because of it control the weed, it helps fertilize the plants, and also the runoff from these waste from the animals actually feeds into our drains and so on where the dashing leaves are.
What I am concentrating on is intercropping with ginger and turmeric. Did you see some planted down there? No, they're cross beds. Okay, you can show you where. So we're doing that. I have a lot of ginger and a fair amount of turmeric, and it is all organic. It's clean. Some of it was grown by the Scientific Research Council as part of a project they were doing with JOAM to do tissue culture. And they developed an organic tissue culture which was accepted by my certifier. So it's costly, I learned that you need to harden them a lot longer before you put them out, but we were able to pass that on. So I have a lot of ginger. Mr. Miller, who you met, says, he says, I think we're going to have enough for about acre and a half.
Another example of synergy is the use of bees to increase pollination, while the farmer harvests hive products for sale or personal use. Nitrogen-fixing plants improve soil nitrogen, while compost and manure improves both soil fertility and structure.
So we just take some leaves, put them in a 5-gallon bucket till the water turns black, a day or two. Strain it, and you can spray that on your plants. No matter when you're going to reap, doesn't matter. Up to the last minute, you can spray safely your plants. It's a very high source of nitrogen.
However, there are trade-offs to this system, such as resource use and access rights, which is why it is important to have partnerships, cooperation, and responsible governance at multiple scales. Caribbean farmers can make use of natural resources such as solar energy and carbon and nitrogen in the air to improve their productivity and efficiency. Farm efficiency is also improved through proper management of biomass, nutrients, soil and water, labor, and integration of elements.
We started off with around 30,000 broilers. Now after the years have passed, we noticed that we needed a more steady cash flow onto the farm. So we ended up reducing this stock into around 20,000. We didn't have much space to develop more infrastructure and so on. So we condemned one of the broiler pens, and we added ducks, and we also added pigs, and we also added small ruminants and rabbits, and a set of different livestock on the farm, basically to generate a more steady cash flow. Generally with broiler production, we get cash every 3 months or so. Now having all the different livestock on the farm, we're able to generate a more that income, weekly and monthly and so on, to actually have the farm running a more sustainable.
Thus, the implementation of agroecological practices results in improved total factor productivity. Waste is a human concept and does not exist in natural ecosystems. Farmers can integrate and imitate such systems by using deep-rooting trees and recycling byproducts and excess material such as fertilizer or livestock feed. Recycling is closely linked with efficiency and synergies.
Okay, so this is the example of the Johnson-Su bioreactor. And when I say it's the revolution of composting, it's amazing. The idea is so great. When you make compost, we're always told there's 4 things in compost: nitrogen, carbon, water, air, right? These elements taken by themselves have no use. It's the microbial activity that makes these elements available to the plant that's important. And the mistake we make when we do a compost pile and we think we've got it all, we're shaking that stuff so often, we're destroying the habitat of that fungi and those microbes that are working so hard to make themselves an habitat there. And we come with our big fork and we air it. We say, oh, it needs air. Because otherwise, it creates ammonia, it smells bad, it leaches. This system, the difference between this and the traditional one, because of the pipes that we have in the middle, right? I'm to remove them. I made this 2 days ago, right? Now I'm to remove those pipes, which will leave in my compost cylinder holes at every foot.
We generally try to be more efficient. How we do this over the past few years is the position of our chicken pens. We position our pens in the north-south direction to facilitate the wind coming into the pens to keep the birds cool. We also done our water source. Our water source can come from on top of a hill. Generally, all our storage tanks and our water management these things generally feed into the pens through gravity. We also use this water source to keep the pens cool. Other things we do to be more efficient is our labor. Being integrated now, we have a permanent source of labor throughout the year. Now we are able to have the labor feeding into our different production systems. We try to be efficient as time goes along. And what we want to do is probably add in some sensors into our different production systems to know what to add in, when to add in, and so on.
Recycling allows farmers to depend less on costly external inputs while closing nutrient cycles. An important factor for sustainable food and agricultural systems is the enhanced resilience of people, communities, and ecosystems. This does not only include being resilient to threats from pests and diseases and economic crises, but also extreme weather events, as some farmers know all too well. The aim is a better spread of income throughout the year.
We have a lot of modification foods, right? And I understand that the world now is trying to get away from that. So then why is not this the future?
You really need them things now, because I was saying about the tradition what was handed down to we. It's just simple, it's just a natural way now. That I was saying too. It's good for poor people because the rice need no sort of chemical to grow or fertilizer. You know, it's growing naturally now. It's growing naturally.
Resilient production systems, for example pest and disease resistance in crops, also reduce the need for the farmer to depend on external inputs and protects the environment against economic vulnerability. Agroecology places a strong emphasis on human and social values such as dignity, empowerment, gender equality, and youth inclusion. Across the world, women make up almost half of the agricultural workforce, and agroecology creates even more opportunities for women. This is addressed by farmers in Jamaica, St. Lucia, and Trinidad and Tobago.
My sister-in-law would come here. Her daughter would be here from time to time. You know, if I have something that I want to get done, I say, okay, let us go. And they come and plant rice.
In this region, you don't go find like much women feeling ashamed to really, you know. And because of the rice getting into our market, you know. Yeah. So you find them dropping rice, they mightn't be involved in the cleaning up of the place. But when the planting of the rice, it have women that being involved and thing too. Yeah, well, I give thanks because I grow my family off of that. Yeah, I grow my family off agriculture.
Because what you find is that the guys, a lot of times, they don't want to, you know, they don't necessarily want, they come and they see and they kind of hang off to the side, but the women tend to, they might give the women to sell. I mean, partly, and that's even in the US, that's what started the whole organic movement. There's women not wanting to feed their children, you know, carrots that were sprayed or something. That's really what started the whole thing.
We offered some level of mentorship as well, saying that even if you don't stay on the first, but as a youth that come out of school at 16, 17, and you may not have that level of maturity, right, that we help to build that in you as well, so that if you go on to other jobs, you at least have that work ethic and so on.
The smaller farmers are women. That is really, I mean, it's my experience. We do have men and women, but you know what we really have? We have families. And these are farming families. And so you see, for me, a lot of the people who come out here, Miss Pansy, Angie, Joanne, I mean, I know their husbands too. They farm as well, but they don't come and sit down in the market. So this is an outlet where the women may feel better at vending. Maybe that's a part of what it is. But I think that big ag, because it's corporate, for sure, on that side you have more men. I don't know anybody who's, are there women that are head of ConAgra or Archer Daniels Midland or any of the huge industrial companies? I don't think so.
Agroecology empowers all practitioners, especially women and youth, to become their own agents of change. Agriculture and food are core components of human heritage. The Caribbean is a melting pot of peoples and beliefs. Thus, food traditions play a central role in society and shaping human behavior and interaction.
Oddly enough, I find the prices here quite reasonable, in some cases cheaper than what obtains at the markets, but I'm not averse to paying more if it is a premium quality product. I understand that in the cultivation of organic produce, the sort of work and inputs that go into it, it's more labor intensive, so I'm prepared to pay more for it because I'd rather pay for the produce than pay healthcare charges.
Well, Trinidad is a multicultural society. So where the farm is located, we are located in central Trinidad where we have a large population of Muslims. How we supply to these Muslims, we meet their standards. So how we do this? We carry our livestock to pluck shops or meat shops, that is, but do our processing for us. So they are certified, they know what is the right way to process them and slaughter their animals and so on. You know, we build a very good relationship with these pluck shops. You know, we have a business relationship as well. When the animals are slaughtered to the Muslims, the Muslim community standard, we then deliver to we supply supermarkets, roti shops, and other food enterprises.
Quality of food. We talk about high food import bills in the Caribbean. What is the way out for that? The way out is to grow local, buy local, eat local, and a lot of governments are actually focusing on this. A penny saved is a penny earned. You know, that's and we have to look at what has happened over the years is that we have gone into more eating more processed foods high in sugar, fat, you know, that are not good for us. They're easy, they're processed, so they're easy to cook and eat and so on, but they have really changed our lifestyles. We now have a lot more non-communicable diseases among us, diabetes, high blood pressure, you name it.
Therefore, a healthy relationship between food and people does not only mean an increase in production, but promoting diverse, nutritious, and wholesome food to consumers. Sustainable food and agriculture requires responsible and effective governance mechanisms at different scales, from local to regional to global. Caribbean farmers are well aware of this.
I didn't get any institutional support from the government because organic was one of those strange thoughts that people said, oh, you're all hobby farmers, oh, this can't work, oh, you can't get production. And in fact, what they say to me is things like, oh, you must have very small beans. And I say, no, my beans are very large, and people who have seen them say, she's got extremely large beans.
We have a government that does not believe in organic.
Yeah, that's a chance.
They just spray everything. We were working on a project at PGR with these farmers, and they sprayed the whole place with Roundup. So we were doing the potato trials to actually certify organic potatoes as a growers group, and they spray the place. So every time we go and we're trying to do work with different, it's some drama.
The Brasses Eco Chocolate Company is a business, it's a limited liability, but it's owned by 4 community members. It only employs community members, buys community beans, and the Tourism Action Committee is a non-profit, and same thing, they're only employing and purchasing beans. So that'll be the difference. It's not private companies happening within a community, it is really community owned.
I am very much an advocate for the face-to-face connection, but I understand that in terms of the digital world, there are some additional opportunities for linking people together. Now, we did AgriNet here, This was the first time with UE, and they developed that app, and then the farmers went out and, you know, there was no cell coverage, so that they couldn't really use it. So I think that that's a part of the next step, is getting that infrastructure in place that allows the people to really understand what they can grow on their soil and how they can produce and become more productive.
Many countries in the region continue to develop policies, legislation and programs to both protect and promote local family farmers. The adoption of agroecology can achieve this while satisfying the demand for healthy food. Agroecology seeks to reconnect producers and consumers through a circular and solidarity economy that prioritizes local markets. In Trinidad and Tobago, an excellent example of this is the Santa Cruz Green Market.
The real motivating force behind this market was in part food wastage, and in the second part the sustainable development goal that deals with changing patterns of consumption and production. So the green market is really about that. And our first thing that we really wanted to do was to link small farmers and garden growers, those are the ones where there's a lot of wastage, directly to consumers. And we've done that in a couple of ways. One, by having the Saturday market, and second, by starting our community-supported agriculture program. So that allows us to have families pay and the farmers give, and we get to pay the farmers every month at the beginning of the month, so it stabilizes their income.
We actually have some farmers planting for us. Some of the stuff actually come from my yard. Yes, I live on a hill, but I still have some vegetation growing. A lot of the other, like let's say the breadfruits and stuff, they actually come from Tobago, because in my humble opinion, it's a little sweeter than Trinidad own.
For me, the farmers market is what is attractive, because once they farm and we bring it into that space and people can see that is their product and that kind of stuff, and also the money that they're getting for their product, that is what's sexy. Every Saturday, when we first started it was every other, and now we've grown it. And it was hard because the farmers kind of got comfortable in the every other week, and I had to like trick them into like doing it. And now it's every week, and now they're actually like, when is the next one? So, because I was trying to explain to them, most farmers that are doing farmers markets, they usually do two markets. They do a midweek market and a weekend market, and they also have other distribution that they do. And we need to, we need to get them, we need to make farming sexy, which a farmers market allows them to do that.
Another area that agroecology will also address is food and nutrition security. At the CARICOM level, at the heads of government level, we have accepted the regional food and nutrition security policy and action plan for the regional level. We have identified, for instance, several value chains for development, roots and tubers, small ruminants, herbs and spices, and so on. That's at the regional level. At the national level now, also countries have prepared their food and nutrition security policies and action plans. And one of the elements of the national action plans is grow local, eat local, buy local. So some of the campaigns you see are all part of that national food and nutrition security policies and action plans.
I think agroecology is really the most sustainable and the best way to grow it. It makes production more easier. It makes it more productive, meaning efficient, more profitable in all these other aspects. When you get up in the morning as a farmer and you see everything just working naturally, and you don't have to stress about adding fertilizer, this thing needs spraying, and all the other, what we normally commercially do. We don't do this in Dwarika farms, and it makes farming a lot more easier. It makes farming safer. It makes Dwarika farms a lot more marketable.
The circular economy concept includes increasing farm profits by trade of resources among farmers, reducing production costs, and minimizing food waste. Additionally, it relies on the relationships built between producers and consumers, producers and producers, and producers and the environment. It is seen that these farmers agree that the agroecological approach to farming addresses many of the issues surrounding food security, diverse and healthy nutrition, and environmental, social, and economic sustainability. With knowledge sharing and updated policies, they are confident that age-old traditions have their place in the future of agriculture, fisheries, and forestry.